are scared of their inflation and they're worried about their retirement. We've got to show up, Republicans and Democrats, and do something that's responsible here.
Congressional leaders trying to come to an agreement with the White House over the nation's debt ceiling. Those talks as the U.S. nears a default. And happening now, the jury reaching a verdict in a civil trial against former President Donald Trump. Well, the very latest for you from New York.
We are a border city, and that's a responsibility because that makes sure that the citizens of El Paso continue to be safe, but also our asylum seekers.
El Paso and other cities along the southern border preparing now for the end of Title 42. The talks happening on Capitol Hill and at the White House. Hey there, very good afternoon. Welcome to Scripps News Live. It's now 3 p.m. in the east and 12 p.m. out west. I'm Veronica Cruz. We begin this hour with a question. Can they reach an agreement while there is still time? That is the pressing inquiry as President Biden gets ready to meet with top congressional leaders over raising the debt ceiling. The Republican-controlled House passing a bill that increases the nation's borrowing limit, but includes major spending cuts. Now, the president has said he won't negotiate over lifting the debt ceiling. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen predicting the government will run out of cash by June 1st. If the U.S. defaults on its bills, it could spark a global financial crisis. We have team coverage for you this afternoon on this White House meeting. Congressional correspondent Nate Reed is on Capitol Hill for us. But first, we want to get you to White House correspondent Haley Bull. Haley?
Good afternoon. The White House views this as a discussion, as a conversation, but not a negotiation. President Biden is expected to meet with congressional leaders in the Oval Office later this afternoon. But heading into this meeting, neither side has shown any apparent progress towards reaching an agreement on the debt limit, with the deadline just weeks away. President Biden wants the limit raised without condition, while Republicans want spending reined in with it. The White House has not given any indication of an openness to other options like a short-term fix, but rather indicated the president will stay the course. The White House press secretary says Biden will, quote, not mince words, make clear Congress's constitutional duty to act, and discuss a separate process for the budget. That is something the White House has indicated they are willing to have a conversation on. But a big question here is what specifically can be accomplished and what level of confidence the leaders have, with each side seemingly dug in. The president has a speech scheduled tomorrow already in New York on avoiding default and how he believes the Republican budget proposal will harm programs.
I think it's prejudging what's going to happen in the meeting. I think we're optimistic that we'll have a good conversation and it'll be productive tomorrow. What the president wants to do on Wednesday is, again, what he's been doing over the past couple of weeks, making really clear what the harms are of the Republican approach. Remember, the bill that they passed through the House would make devastating cuts to all sorts of programs that we all rely on.
The Treasury Secretary has warned early June is when the U.S. can't pay its bills and defaults, warning of economic chaos. The Council of Economic Advisors, alongside other analysts, warn of economic damage, job losses, higher interest rates, and that it expects market stress indicators to worsen the closer to default. And we are expecting that meeting to take place a little later this afternoon, and we'll be watching for any signs of progress from either side here.
Back some breaking news at this hour. Jurors reaching a verdict in the lawsuit against former President Donald Trump, who's accused of raping writer E. Jean Carroll. Want to give you a live look right now outside of that courthouse in New York City. Again, we are awaiting word. We're hearing a verdict has been reached, but they're expected to release it momentarily. E. Jean Carroll is one of more than a dozen women who've accused the former president of sexual assault and harassment. She went public in 2019, and she is alleging that Trump raped her in the dressing room of a Manhattan department store in the mid-1990s. Now, Trump did not attend the civil trial and has said that he didn't even know her. Now, the plaintiff, who is 79 years old, is seeking unspecified damages. Let's get you live right now to Nathaniel Reed on Capitol Hill, taking you back to the debt ceiling debate. Again, we're waiting for that verdict, and as soon as it is handed down, we're going to get back to New York, where Axel Tercios is standing by for us. So, Nate, circling back to the debt limit for a second, Democrats appear to be united behind President Biden. How firm is Speaker Kevin McCarthy right now in his position that there must be spending cuts heading into this meeting? What does he want exactly?
Well, Veronica, first of all, feel free to cut me off if you get breaking news out of New York. But at the same time, Speaker Kevin McCarthy is headed with a strong position into this meeting at the White House later today. He has the backing of a large percentage of the Senate Republican Conference, who have made very clear that they want whatever eventual deal exists to be between Speaker McCarthy and President Biden. They ultimately think that that will have the votes in order to become law. In a letter written over the weekend, 43 Senate Republicans, including Republican leader Mitch McConnell, wrote as follows, quote, "The Senate Republican Conference is united behind the House Republican Conference in support of spending cuts and structural budget reform as a starting point for negotiations in the debt ceiling." They continue, quote, "We will not be voting for any bill that raises the debt ceiling without substantive spending and budget reform." So that is somewhat of the position that we are seeing now from Speaker McCarthy. McCarthy is going to this with basically the negotiating power of all Republicans. Though Mitch McConnell will be in this meeting, he has already said that he'll take somewhat of a back seat during these negotiations.
And Nate, what seems to be the general consensus? I know that you've probably been speaking with aides there on the Hill. What are folks saying? Can we expect a deal to get done today?
At this point, there's some reporting that a deal is unlikely at this point, but we just learned today that Speaker McCarthy sent a number of emissaries to the White House last week to try and at least set the ground rules for what this meeting is going to look like. He addressed that with reporters a few moments ago. Take a listen.
When the president said he would finally meet, I sent a letter and asked, shouldn't our aides get together beforehand so this meeting could be more productive today? It's not something they requested. It's not something they looked at. So I still don't know how serious they're taking this. I'm concerned. Why I wanted to make sure to do this back in February so we could show them we could work in a better manner.
And at this point, we know that all the leaders are going to have that opportunity to sit down a little bit later today. Again, we do not know whether they can actually reach a deal during this singular meeting. But remember, this is the first time, Veronica, that all of these congressional leaders, since they've been in their roles, have been able to sit down in the Oval Office with President Biden and actually get closer to hammering out a deal on the debt limit.
All right, Nate Reed, live on Capitol Hill. We appreciate you tracking it, Nate. We'll be circling back with you. So the question, how do Americans feel about the fight over the debt ceiling and the people trying to fix it all? Scripps News correspondent Joe St. George takes a closer look in one new poll.
Going into today's meeting on the debt ceiling at the White House, one thing is abundantly clear. The American people don't have a ton of confidence in the leaders that are going to be tasked with negotiating a possible deal to avoid a default. Fresh polling from Gallup out this morning with numbers about how confident they are, or fairly confident, in President Biden, the Republicans in Congress, and the Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen, to handle the economy. You can see President Biden under 40%, Republicans under 40%, the Secretary of the Treasury under 40%. You're going to be hearing a lot about the word confidence regarding the debate over the debt ceiling in the coming days and weeks. And one group of individuals that will be looking at the confidence of whether or not there will be a deal or not are investors on Wall Street. Sources here on Capitol Hill say one thing that will most likely move negotiations along isn't necessarily the fact that congressional leaders are meeting in the White House this afternoon. It's how do the markets react to all of this? If the markets begin to tank because they believe the U.S. is more and more likely to default, that could spur negotiations along. Remember, the United States has never defaulted before. In the end, lawmakers have always found a way to come together, but it remains a high-stakes game of political chicken right now on this issue. Republicans don't want to blink first. Democrats don't want to blink first. Republicans believe that they're not asking for much. They believe reasonable cuts should be made in order to raise the debt limit. Democrats want a clean debt limit and then budget negotiations. Joe St. George, Scripps News, Washington.
Still ahead this hour with all the talk of an uneasy economic future. Is the U.S. actually heading for a recession? Financial expert Ted Jenkins will join us to find out what is really happening with your money. We're going to discuss it in the next half hour right here on Scripps News Live. And straight ahead, changes to federal student aid could be having a huge impact on rural families. What lawmakers are doing about it now to help the students in need. But first, the fight over access to a commonly used abortion pill continues. The state's hoping to keep that in use. And what's next?
Are
you going into places where they could shoot you down?
Jason Bellini takes you to Ukraine to meet a low-flying helicopter unit, making a big difference on the front lines. Tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Scripps News Tonight.
Here's TV shark Robert Herjavec for Car Shield.
I love cars, and I also love great deals. That's why I'm such a fan of Car Shield. They have an amazing deal that helps protect you from the sky-high cost of big auto repairs.
The check engine light on your vehicle can come on at any time. If your car is out of warranty, an engine replacement can cost over $5,000. A new transmission, over $4,000. Even a new air conditioner can run over $1,500.
If you suddenly had to pay those costs, it could really hurt your bottom line.
Car Shield administrators have paid for my claims over $5,000. Now, who does that? Car Shield, you're the best. A plan that works.
When your car or truck breaks down, you simply take it to the certified repair shop or dealer of your choice. Car Shield administrators take care of the rest.
And Car Shield gives you VIP treatment.
Plans through Car Shield include 24-hour roadside assistance, courtesy towing, and rental car options when your vehicle is being repaired.
I did my due diligence. Car Shield is a deal that is just too good to pass up. In fact, Car Shield is America's #1 auto protection company.
Car Shield administrators have paid out over $1 billion in claims and have protected millions of vehicles. Call now for a free quote.
It's only a matter of time until your vehicle is going to need a repair. Save big with Car Shield.
Call now for an instant free quote. Car Shield offers month-to-month plans for every budget. There are no long-term contracts. Car Shield has coverage for vehicles with 5,000 to 150,000 miles. Car Shield experts are standing by now. The sooner you call, the sooner you can drive with peace of mind.
Coverage through Car Shield is a deal that is just too good to pass up. If you want to save a lot of money on future auto repair bills, I recommend you call Car Shield now.
Call 1-800-680-9870 or go to carshield.com. That's 1-800-680-9870. Call now.
Wouldn't it be great if every meal was perfect? Not just big family cookouts or cozy dinners for two, but even those crazy busy everyday meals? With Omaha Steaks, you'll love every meal because we only deliver the best. The possibilities are endless, and perfection is always guaranteed. Visit omahasteaks.com/TV to order the perfect meal collection today for just $99.99 and get 8 burgers free.
Local, national, and worldwide headlines. Breaking down the day's biggest stories with live reporting from around the globe.
I'm Del Walters, and this is your Evening Debrief.
Live tonight, starting at 6/5 Central, only on Scripps News. The why is where curiosity is intentional. Because when you ask the why behind the news, the world opens up before your eyes. The Why, Saturday nights at 8/7 Central, only on Scripps News.
Breaking news right now, a jury rejecting E. Jean Carroll's rape claim against former President Donald Trump, but they did, however, find him liable for battery. Again, they are finding him guilty of battery. E. Jean Carroll claiming that Trump raped her in a department store dressing room back in the 1990s. We're looking at video right here of E. Jean Carroll arriving at that Manhattan court. Now, Carroll's lawyers have criticized Trump for opting not to testify in person. Trump's lawyers supported his client's decision while calling her allegations a made-up story inspired by a Law and Order episode. Again, those jurors finding him guilty of battery. That was a 6-men, 3-women jury, and they deliberated for about 2.5 hours. Again, we are waiting for our correspondent who's there on the ground, Axel Tercios. He's been following the trial from the very beginning for us. As soon as we have word, you see the microphones there. They're just about to start a press conference. As soon as we get more from this jury, from this courthouse, we will, of course, bring you an update. But again, jurors rejecting E. Jean Carroll's rape claim against the former president, but finding him guilty of battery. We'll have much more straight ahead. All right, getting you back now to the topic of abortion. According to a new poll, most Americans are saying that the abortion pill should remain on the market. The Washington Post and ABC News poll found that 66% of adults say that mifepristone should stay on the market. 24% polled say that they oppose. Researchers say that opinions on access to the pills are closely tied to views on the Supreme Court's decision nearly a year ago to overturn Roe versus Wade. Now, the drug, along with misoprostol, is used in more than half of all abortions in the United States. It's also at the center of a legal debate over its FDA approval. Abortion providers in 3 states, Virginia, Montana, and Kansas, now suing to preserve access to mifepristone. In other news at this hour, Disney is amending a lawsuit asking a federal judge to reject Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' takeover of theme park operations. The company is objecting to the state taking over Disney World monorail inspections. The dispute began when Disney opposed a state law banning classroom lessons on sexual orientation and gender identity in early grades. Legislators then appointed a new board to oversee park operations. But Disney made agreements with its previous oversight board to strip the new board of power on design and construction matters. So we know that Ron DeSantis hasn't formally yet announced a run for president, but polls are suggesting that the governor might be facing an uphill battle. A Washington Post ABC News poll shows that 42% say that they would definitely or probably vote for him over President Biden, but 37% prefer the president. The rest are still undecided. Matt Cesney from Scripps News West Palm Beach spoke with a political strategist about the DeSantis campaign.
Still no official announcement yet, but news is swirling around the governor who is expected to jump into this presidential race now that the legislative session is over in Tallahassee. Today, the governor was in Brooksville, Florida, that is just north of Tampa, signing other bills banning TikTok at school and curbing Chinese land ownership. In some political circles, it appears his stock is dropping a bit, especially his popularity among high-dollar mega donors, billionaires, and Wall Street executives. I talked with a national Republican media strategist about this and about what's happening.
It was very easy and emotional to want to jump very early onto the DeSantis bandwagon for a lot of these people who are now saying, you know what, there's no rush here. Why don't we take our times, take a look at how the governor does when he truly hits the trail.
Governor DeSantis has faced some pushback recently from Republicans, especially over his dispute with Disney. When will the governor get into this presidential race? Well, most of the speculation is it will happen before this month is over. In West Palm Beach, Matt Cesney, WPTV, News Channel 5.
Also at this hour, changes meant to streamline the free application for federal student aid, or what we all know as FAFSA, have some families who own farms and small businesses worried that they're going to lose their financial aid. Now, a bipartisan group of senators is urging the Department of Education to halt the move, saying it could cause college enrollment rates for rural students to plummet. National correspondent Chris Conti is in Iowa. He has the details.
Here in the Midwest, these changes to the federal student aid system have the potential to hit particularly hard. Farmers often rely on federal student aid to get their kids through college.
People today don't understand the connection with the land.
Family means everything to farmers.
And so we all grew up basically working on farms all of our lives.
That's why Noreen Black has lived on this same dirt road for 70 years.
This field probably produces better than just about anybody in the county, but it's because we take care of it.
It's why her family has spent their lives working this land in Ames, Iowa.
Oh, touch it. There's energy in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
I mean, even right now when it's dormant?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's seed in the ground.
To Noreen, the 250 acres she and her husband farm are priceless, but the Department of Education has decided otherwise. Do you think this would keep more kids from rural communities going to school?
Yes, it will.
For decades, the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA, has excluded non-liquid assets like farmland or farm equipment from being reported as part of a family's income. Businesses with fewer than 100 employees didn't count toward a family's adjusted gross income.
If that amount disappeared, now you have more debt, and you just keep piling that debt on. And where does that get paid then?
But changes to the FAFSA process could put college out of reach for farm families like the Blacks. Farms now have to report their land as an asset. Same goes for small businesses, meaning college students from those families will be eligible for less financial assistance. The move was made by Congress as a way to streamline FAFSA.
I think our college going rates will suffer because of this.
Mark Waterspan is the executive director for Iowa College Aid. Under the changes, in a farm family with an adjusted gross income of $60,000, a student could receive thousands in need-based financial aid. By counting the value of a farm on paper, though, not just a family's income, that same student's need-based financial aid might drop to zero.
They're not going to be able to afford to go to college.
Over 85% of college students receive some type of financial aid in this country. That's 17.7 million students. It's unclear right now how many students these changes will impact.
We're in the Farm Belt. This is not good for our families.
Wayne Dilley is the director of financial aid for Central College. He already has students worried they'll have to drop out of school next year if they lose their financial aid.
Based on potential changes here, could drastically affect what they're receiving in federal and state aid.
College administrators across Iowa and the U.S. are so concerned, they're calling on Congress to do something.
Yes, it's got to be changed by, I think, this fall.
In an interview with Scripps News, Iowa Republican Senator Chuck Grassley told us he's working with a bipartisan group of senators to introduce a bill that would base students' financial aid on their parents' income, not assets.
This could very much reduce the help that students are getting and then reduce their enrollment.
Without that student aid, Senator Grassley is concerned many high schoolers will defer going to college or take on more loans to pay for school.
You might have to borrow money on your farm to send your kids to college because this increase in asset is going to put families in a condition that may be asset rich but income poor.
Then you're talking about potentially more debt.
More debt.
And farmers are already in a lot of debt.
Yeah. They're saying now statistically that you can't buy a farm as a young farmer and go out and make enough to sustain yourself or your family or whatever.
At 70 years old, Noreen Black's concern falls to her grandchildren and whether these changes could prevent them from being able to afford college in the next few years.
You can borrow against it, but now you're twice in debt because, you defeated the purpose of going to school.
For now, farm families will keep working the land like they always do, hoping the sun doesn't set on the prospect of higher education for future generations. And you don't want to sell it?
Oh, heavens, no. This land has been in our family over 100 years. There's absolutely no way. Not on my watch.
Chris Conti, Scripps News, Ames, Iowa.
And straight ahead on Scripps News Live, new details in that deadly weekend shooting at a Texas mall. We've learned so far about the suspect and Title 42 ending in just 2 days. What we're learning about the preparations underway at the southern border. That's next.
Hi, I'm Kirk Kaiser, and did you know the average funeral costs around $10,000? And if you don't have enough insurance to cover funeral costs, credit card debt, and other expenses, your family is going to get stuck with the bill. Don't let that happen. Call right now. And if you're over 50, you can get up to $30,000 in affordable life insurance, and your acceptance is guaranteed. That's right. If you're over 50, you can't be turned down for this insurance, regardless of your health. Plus, there's no medical exam and no health questions. Your rate will never go up. Your coverage will never go down. And rates start as low as $5 a week. Your coverage begins as soon as your application is received. Don't wait until it's too late.
Just call 800-379-8435.
Coverage is guaranteed regardless of your health and cannot be canceled without your approval. Don't leave your family with a huge bill for your funeral. With one fast and easy call, get up to $30,000 in affordable life insurance to help cover funeral expenses and credit card debt, and maybe even leave something for your kids and your grandkids. Remember, if you're over 50, you can't be turned down, regardless of your health. There's no medical exam and no health questions. Best of all, your rates start as low as $5 a week, and your rate will never increase. Nothing is more important than family. So don't leave them with a lot of bills to pay when you're gone. Don't leave your family with a lot of bills to pay for your funeral. Call right now. Acceptance is guaranteed. Call right now.
Call now. 800-379-8435. That's 800-379-8435.
If you're living with diabetes, this sound may save your life. A continuous glucose monitor provides glucose readings and alerts you in real time to potential lows and harmful spikes without painful finger sticks. It's easy, convenient, and proven to lower your A1C. If you administer insulin, you may qualify for a continuous glucose monitor at no cost to you. Call now. It could save your life. Just call 800-233-6176. This new GCM technology immediately eliminates your pain and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. That means no more guessing. It's easy to see your glucose number any time of the day. Call now and get free shipping. Plus, we'll bill your insurance company for you. Satisfaction guaranteed. Don't wait until it's too late. Take control of your diabetes now. Just call 800-233-6176. That's 800-233-6176.
Welcome back to Scripps News Live. I'm Veronica Cruz. I want to get you back to that breaking news and a live look right now at New York. This is a Manhattan courtroom where a jury has just reached a verdict in E. Jean Carroll's civil suit against former President Trump. That jury awarding Carroll $5 million after finding Trump liable for sexual abuse and defamation. Now, the former president didn't take the stand in the trial. We're looking at live pictures right here. We see all of the reporters out there standing by. Again, former President Trump liable of both battery and defamation in E. Jean Carroll's civil suit. Trump being asked to pay $3 million in damages for defamation, $2 million in damages for E. Jean Carroll's civil battery claim. That is a total of $5 million in damages. We are going to continue to follow this story for you. Our correspondent Axel Tercios is standing by and will be joining us shortly. In other news at this hour, lawyers for FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried looking to dismiss most of the 13 charges against him, including fraud and bribery. Prosecutors saying that Bankman-Fried stole customer deposits from the bankrupt crypto exchange. His defense says that the government failed to properly explain what offenses he committed. Prosecutors have 2 weeks to respond. Bankman-Fried is due in court in mid-June. Well, the Palestinian Health Ministry is saying at least 15 people were killed in a series of Israeli airstrikes in Gaza. The Israeli military says 3 top commanders of the Islamic Jihad militant group are among the dead. 20 people have been injured. The overnight strikes hit the top floor of an apartment building and 2 houses. Later strikes targeted what the Israeli military called militants driving anti-tank guided missiles to a launch site. In Pakistan, the former Prime Minister Imran Khan has been arrested, sparking violent protests. Khan is facing charges in several corruption cases. One of those charges is terrorism. 1 person was killed, more than a dozen others injured in demonstrations across Pakistan's major cities. Police were firing tear gas to break up the crowds in some places. Khan is expected to appear before a tribunal tomorrow. So the pandemic-era health policy aimed at keeping traffic low at U.S. borders is ending this week. Title 42 restricting migrants from crossing into the U.S. to seek asylum, but masses of people have already been showing up at the southern border. U.S. Customs and Border Protection says roughly 30,000 migrants, mostly from Venezuela, have attempted to cross the border in Brownsville, Texas since mid-April. Joining us now live from Washington, congressional correspondent Stephanie Lieberman with the very latest here. So, Stephanie, we are looking at a deadline that is fast approaching. Thursday, or 12 a.m. Friday morning, if you will, is when Title 42 is going to end. What is the White House saying right now? How is the Biden administration preparing for all of this?
Well, this was a question that was asked of the White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre in the briefing this afternoon, and she said the White House has a robust multi-agency plan in place, but she didn't really reveal any details about what exactly that plan looks like. She said more information will be coming on that tomorrow. What she did say was that the White House plans to process migrants and asylum seekers in an orderly fashion as quickly as they can, but she said they're focused on enforcement, on deterrence, and diplomacy. But she did say the White House wants to be sure that those who do come to the U.S.-Mexico border, that they are treated humanely. But I guess we'll have to wait at least another day to get a few more details from the White House on what exactly their plan looks like for the end of Title 42.
Now, obviously, you know, the cities that are going to be impacted are those border cities. How are these communities gearing up for the expected increase in border crossings?
Well, I spoke to a couple people on the ground in Texas today to ask what they're doing. Are they ready for the end of Title 42? The CEO of Catholic Charities in San Antonio, he told me that, they provide a variety of services and assistance to asylum seekers specifically, so people who have paperwork for an asylum appointment. He said they provide temporary shelter, food, therapy, and mental health assistance to help them deal with the trauma that they have gone through to get to the United States. The asylum seekers, he's found staying even longer in their temporary shelter. They used to stay just 1 to 3 days, now staying 4, 5, even 6 days. And he said they recently received a grant from FEMA, and that FEMA money is going to help them provide shelter for a larger number of migrants in the coming days. Take a listen.
We officially found out, I think, Friday. Then we started the process of hiring more people, more contractors, more security, and even try to increase the capacity that we have at the MRC Centro de Bienvenida to maybe have a large tent outside and contact some hotels to ensure that we actually have rooms for big families.
Now, across the state of Texas in El Paso, it's a similar story. That city there declared a state of emergency ahead of the expected increase in migrants with the end of Title 42. That the communications director there for the city telling me that they are also focused on increasing housing and their shelter capability. Again, they're housing these migrants and asylum seekers for a short period of time, maybe only a couple days. But she said they're partnering with the local school district to make use of some empty school buildings to house new migrants.
Each of the schools is capable of housing around about 1,000 folks, give or take a few. We intend to have families housed at these temporary shelters.
Now, one thing that the city is limited on, they can only help people who have encountered a border security agent or have encountered an immigration agent. For people who illegally cross the border and don't get caught or interrupted by Customs and Border Protection, they can't get help from the city. They can't be among those who are sheltered at these new expanded school facilities that are going to provide them, some additional assistance in the coming days. But she really stressed El Paso is a welcoming community, and they really want to do as much as they can for these migrants and asylum seekers that are coming to the U.S.-Mexico border.
All right, congressional correspondent Stephanie Liebergen reporting live for us from Capitol Hill. Stephanie, thank you so much. So Mexico's president, in the meantime, is also speaking out against a new immigration bill in Florida. He's calling it, quote, immoral. President Manuel Lopez Obrador accusing the governor of taking advantage of people's pain for political gain. Now, that bill, already heading to Governor DeSantis' desk, would allow for people who help or employ undocumented immigrants to face felony charges. It would also allot $12 million for a program that would allow Florida officials to fly migrants out of state. And immigration advocacy groups are now urging Governor DeSantis not to sign the bill, saying it could have a devastating impact on migrant communities, both legal and illegal. Reporter Vanessa Ariza from Scripps News Tampa explains why.
Senate Bill 1718. It's a number that is inducing fear in the immigrant community.
The way that it's written, it's targeting undocumented families, but immigrants in general, whether they're documented or not.
Teresita Matos Post serves as the executive director for the Bethel Farm Worker Ministry. For more than 40 years, they have served their community, specifically migrant workers.
You're targeting the citizens in your community who have been contributing to our society for generations.
Senate Bill 1718 cracks down on those who are undocumented, as well as people who choose to help them. The bill, which is set to go before Governor Ron DeSantis now, states someone who knowingly helps an undocumented person could face felony charges. As for businesses, if an employer knowingly hires and continues to employ a person who is undocumented, they could face up to a $10,000 fine per undocumented employee and revocation of their license. Hospitals, they're involved too. Each facility that accepts Medicaid has to submit quarterly reports to the state about a person's immigration status.
What shrivels my heart is specifically the piece about hospitals asking about the status to dissuade any family that needs medical health, right? That might not go to the hospital when they need help because they're afraid that they're going to be asked about their status.
The fear is amplified with the ending of Title 42 this week. It was enacted during former President Donald Trump's presidency during the COVID-19 pandemic in order to limit entrance into the states to reduce the spread of infection. Governor Ron DeSantis briefly commenting about the expected influx at a bill signing Monday afternoon.
For our border, which is a total disaster and is going to get worse this week.
The thing that is the most damning is that the anti-immigration laws are applied unequally.
Eliseo Santana is an advocate in the Hispanic community. The Army veteran and Bronx native says he's already felt the negative impacts of anti-immigration. But what alarms him the most, he says, is that his humanitarian efforts could end with a felony charge.
To have someone like me and others, ministers, be looked at as potential criminals for helping another human being in need, that is un-American. That is something that I cannot believe that is happening.
Despite the fear, advocates like Santana and Matos Post say they will continue with their mission to help their fellow neighbor. As for the bill, if signed by Governor DeSantis, it will take effect on July 1st of this year. I'm Vanessa Ariza for Scripps News.
Now, it's not just the southern border prepping for an increase of migrant crossings into the United States. Some states bordering Canada are also bracing for impact. Michigan's border with Canada is also a path for some from Central and South America to travel through and enter the U.S. Areas in the state, like Southwest Detroit, are home to a large Hispanic American community. Nonprofits there are preparing to assist and offer resources as necessary.
There's a lot of people that are very fearful of what's going to happen, and I say that because a lot of people are not going to know how to react to it.
Advocates say there is a growing concern about family separation as well, and they're urging people to push lawmakers to find solutions to the influx. Getting it out of Texas, posts made to a Russian social networking website appear to show the man who killed 8 people at a Texas mall Saturday. He spent weeks planning his attack. It's all according to information compiled by international research collective Bellingcat.com. Federal investigators also confirming to the Associated Press that they've reviewed the same online post that Bellingcat has accessed. Some appear to show the shooter researched which days and hours would be busiest at the Allen Premium Outlets before showing up there Saturday with an assault rifle and a handgun. What's more, the Bellingcat researchers turned up a number of posts that show the shooter had a fascination with white supremacy and neo-Nazi imagery. We've also just learned the gunman had no criminal record before Saturday's shooting. It's all according to an update from the Texas Department of Public Safety. So just 2 days after that deadly shooting in Allen, Texas, lawmakers have offered a bit of hope for gun reform advocates.
Being 8 ayes, 5 nays, and 0 present not voting, motion.
Cheers erupting after a Texas House committee advanced a stalled gun reform bill yesterday. That bill would raise the minimum age to purchase semi-automatic rifles from 18 to 21. Protesters, including families of Uvalde shooting victims, filled the state house to support that bill. Some stood holding photos of their murdered children. During a news conference, Democratic State Congressman Gene Wu held back tears, pleading for increased gun control.
To see those pictures, I see my son there is no safe place in America anymore. At some point, the people blocking the laws that could help prevent these type of tragedies, at some point, they take some ownership of these tragedies.
The so-called Raise the Age bill will move forward for a full vote in the Texas House. It is unlikely to become law due to Republican Governor Greg Abbott's opposition to raising the legal age of purchasing guns. In the meantime, authorities in Brownsville, Texas are waiting for a toxicology report on a man suspected in a deadly crash that killed 8 and injured 10 others. Police say the 34-year-old drove his SUV into a crowd of people at a bus stop on Sunday. He's now being charged with manslaughter and aggravated assault. It's not yet clear if the driver ran into them on purpose, but witnesses say that afterward he shouted at them, quote, "Go back to your country." Police say the man tried to leave the scene, but bystanders held him down. Governor Abbott says that investigators are getting to the bottom of what exactly happened.
I spoke with the police chief of Brownsville to learn more information, as well as communicated with the county judge in Cameron County, which is where Brownsville is located. Both of them said that because of the circumstances, there is a massive ongoing investigation to identify exactly what happened.
The Cameron County judge says the community is mourning and offered his condolences to the victims' families. Still to come on Scripps News Live, is the U.S. heading for a recession, or are we already in one? Coming up, we're going to talk to a financial expert about the possibility and break down how the U.S. economy is actually doing right now. And a quick reminder right here, we'd like to hear from you. You can call us on our Scripps News viewer hotline, toll free, 1-833-4-SCRIPPS. Share your comments and your story ideas with us at any time. We'll be right back.
Do you spend hours maintaining your gutters? Save that time with LeafGuard's maintenance-free system. Call 1-833-2-GUTTERS. Mesh filters sit on top of your gutters, building up debris and eventually clogging. Then they need to be cleaned too. Honestly, your home should have been built with LeafGuard gutters. LeafGuard's wraparound hood deflects debris and keeps water away from your home. The one-piece seamless system is strong, 20% thicker than average, and built to last. Plus, LeafGuard is guaranteed to never clog for as long as you own your home. Right now, get a complete LeafGuard system for only $99 down, $99 a month, and $99 installation. You'll also receive a $100 Visa gift card with a free gutter inspection and in-home estimate. Damage from clogged gutters can cost you thousands. Never worry about clogged gutters again. Don't wait, you've still got time. Call 1-833-2-GUTTERS today. That's 1-833-2-GUTTERS.
Are you ready for a fresh new bath or shower? Well, now is the best time with 50% off installation and no interest and no payments for 1 year. Hi, I'm Christina, and it's time to flip your old worn out bath or shower with Jacuzzi Bath Remodel today. Everyone knows the Jacuzzi brand. They're the most trusted name in water for over 60 years. But did you know they can install a gorgeous bath or shower that feels incredible in as little as 1 day? It's no stress and no mess with a lifetime warranty. Now let's talk beauty. You deserve to start and end your day in a beautiful space that feels great and is custom designed just for you. So call or go online now to see the Christina preferred designs like Canyon, Farm, and Urban. Now that's the total bathroom beauty that I love at a price you can afford. And how about safety? Like an ultra low profile, easy entry shower, complete with grab bars and a custom design seat. You deserve safety and peace of mind without sacrificing style. Because with all the worries in daily life, taking a shower shouldn't be one of them.
Every time I stepped over my old tub, I worried I might fall. I don't have those fears anymore. Jacuzzi Bath Remodel gave me a gorgeous shower that's safe too.
I've been trying to get him to remodel that bath for years. I called and they did in just 1 day.
And at a price we could afford.
With one call to Jacuzzi Bath Remodel, you can effortlessly transform that old, ugly eyesore into the stunning bath or shower of your dreams that you'll love for years to come.
Call or go online now to jacuzzibathremodel.com to get 50% off installation. Plus, ask how you may qualify for no interest and no payments for 12 months. And when you call right now, we'll give you our complete safety upgrade for free. Go to jacuzzibathremodel.com or call 800-218-1279. That's 800-218-1279. Call now.
When Lila was ready to sell her ring, she sent it to Worthy, where they took care of everything and auctioned it on her terms. Then, Worthy sent Lila her money. You're worthy of more. Get started at worthy.com.
This is The Upside,
where we shine a light on the brighter side of news.
With authority.
This is my purpose. Anybody can do it.
These are the stories of good people doing great things.
Weekday mornings at 5:30, 4:30 Central on Scripps News.
President Biden and top congressional leaders will meet at the White House in an hour to try and hammer out an agreement on lifting the debt ceiling. The Republican-controlled House passed a bill that recently ties an increase in the borrowing limit to spending cuts. Now, the president has said raising the limit is a non-negotiable. Without an agreement in place by June 1st, the U.S. risks default and a financial catastrophe. And the fear is it could cause a recession. And now we've been hearing this word and the warnings about a recession for months now. Defaulting on our debt could wipe out millions of jobs and then impact everything from Social Security payments to Americans' investments, causing a recession or worse. But again, economists have been predicting a U.S. recession for more than a year. Ted Jankin, a financial expert and the CEO of Oxygen Financial, joins us now live. Ted, thanks so much for your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
So why have economists been forecasting a U.S. recession for so long, yet the labor market remains stable? 253,000 jobs just created last month, according to the last economic print. Consumer confidence has been resilient. We see unemployment at a historic low. It's at a 53 or 54-year low at 3.4%. Why do we keep hearing these predictions?
I feel like this is always a case of sadness or euphoria because it's a tale of two stories right now. You're absolutely right. On one hand, everything looks like it's going great. We've got inflation coming down. We have incomes that are going up. Retail sales are doing well. And as you mentioned, unemployment is at 3.4%, the lowest that we've seen in 54 years. But the problem really here is, how did we get there? And in the last 3 or 4 years during the pandemic and after, we've printed roughly $6 trillion. So I think the fear is when you print money like this, of course you can make the economy look good. The question is, when is it going to have that crash? And I think that's what people are trying to prepare for now. We can't expand at the rate that we had before simply because we printed so much money.
Yeah, so I hear what you're saying. There's a lot of liquidity in the market. But if we didn't print that money, don't you think that the U.S. economy would be a lot worse off?
Yeah, well, in fact, I think we hit a recession last year. I'm surprised that they didn't call it because generally speaking, when you have 2 negative consecutive quarters of GDP, it's a recession. But as you mentioned, those other numbers were strong, so we didn't actually call it to be a recession. I think now what people are really bracing for is because the Fed has raised interest rates some 5% plus over the last 12 months, naturally, things are going to stall. Income will not rise as fast as it did before. Retail sales will not climb as fast as they did before. And yes, we had to print that money during the pandemic, but right now with interest rates rising, I think that's why people are bracing for this recession term. We just can't grow as fast as we did before.
And I hear what you're saying because we have not seen 2 periods where GDP has contracted, where the economy continues to expand, like you were saying. And I think, thinking back to when the government was printing all that money, we had maybe 6 weeks of a bear market, and then that was it. But I want you to go ahead and take a listen to what President Biden had to say about inflation during a cabinet meeting on Friday.
Inflation is now down 40% since last summer. It's come down the last 9 months in a row. We obviously have more work to do, but we're trending in the right direction. And I think we're making real progress.
So despite what the president is saying there and the better economic outlook, there has been this incessant drumbeat of this impending recession. I think I've been saying the word for the past 2 years. What kind of an impact do you think this has? All this recession talk might be having on the stock market and the economy.
It's a weird term to use that number 40% because when you drop from 7% to 5%, that's where you get the 40%. But I don't feel like a lot of Americans are experiencing a drop in inflation right now, especially because they're spending a lot of money on food and on travel and entertainment, and it's hitting their wallet every day. In many of those parts of the country on things like food, you still have a double-digit inflation in many cases. So, I think right now that's what's impacting Americans' wallets. Yes, inflation has come down, but still, the wages that Americans are making, it's not growing as fast as inflation. So yes, you have more money in your pocket, but not in terms of real dollars right now. And that impact is substantial. And by the way, the second thing that's coming here is that credit card debt for Americans has now passed $1 trillion. And very soon, if something isn't done with student loans, you're going to have millions of Americans that have to pay back student loans after July 1st. All of this is going to have a serious impact on the wallets of Americans. So that's why it's not just inflation alone.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, you know, I think Zimbabwe's current inflation rate is 189%, Venezuela 86%, Turkey 273%. The U.S. right now is at 4.98%, which pales in comparison. But I also wanted to circle back to something else you were saying, because we were talking about corporations, corporate profits, which have been through the roof for the past 2 years. I think CEOs of the country's top companies have been raking in millions. I believe Sundar Pichai of Google, I think he made $226 million last year. But the company just cut 12,000 jobs. Why is this happening?
Well, look, those companies expanded really fast during the pandemic. They had a ton of capital to expand their companies. And at the end of the day, these technology companies need to answer to their shareholders. That's who they're answering to. And just like our federal government, the only way that you deal with it as a company is you have to figure out how to grow sales, or you have to figure out how to cut expenses. So if you want to make sure you show profitability, for those that look at the numbers on Wall Street, and they do, you cut expenses. And that's exactly what they're doing right now. As do we need to look at that as a country as a whole. Look, there's only two ways to fix our budget problem, not the debt ceiling, which is you either have to raise revenue, meaning increase taxes, or you have to decrease expenses. And this is where there has to be a meeting of the minds to say we need to do a little bit of both, have some common sense.
All right. Ted Jenkins, thank you so much for the enlightening conversation. I have so many more questions for you. I wanted to ask you why these companies continue to move the goalposts. I feel like every single time they report, every quarter, you know, analysts think that they need to make more and more and more and more money. When is it ever enough?
You know, it really isn't. Unfortunately, Wall Street has an insatiable appetite for growth and profits. And unfortunately, companies are only as good as they were last quarter. And that's the challenge with Wall Street right now. If you have one bad quarter, your stock goes down by 20%. You have one good quarter, your stock goes up by 20%. We need to make sure that companies have breathing room to think about long-term strategies. This is the way that you grow companies and you retain employees, and not thinking about just what happened last quarter. It's a bad way to run a company.
All right, Ted Jenkins with Oxygen Financial. Ted, thank you so much for stopping by. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Straight ahead on Scripps News Live, a soon-to-be medical student has a few reasons to celebrate, 13 reasons to be exact. We're going to bring you his unique story and where he's headed next. Also, we'd like to remind you right here to follow us at Scripps News on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on TikTok. We'll be right back.
There's a lot to watch on TV these days. Problem is, most streaming options are incredibly pricey, and you'll end up paying for the local channels you can get for free. Luckily, there's a solution. Sling is only $40 a month. And you get awesome stuff like sports, news, and today's hottest TV for half of what the other guys cost. If you already get free locals with an antenna, now you can easily add the channels you're missing with Sling. It's the TV you love for a price you'll love. Visit sling.com/antenna to learn more.
This is an important message for anyone and everyone on or eligible for Medicare. If Medicare is important to you, then you need to hear this message because Medicare benefits matter to millions of Americans. Did you know Medicare has different parts, including Medicare Part A and Part B, often called Original Medicare? And then there's Medicare Part C, representing Medicare Advantage plans, and Part D for prescription drug coverage. Call 800-912-2786 now for your free Medicare coverage checkup. We can look up your plan and see if you're missing out on a plan with extra benefits or if your income qualifies you to reduce costs on your prescription medications. Did you know there are different enrollment periods like the Medicare annual enrollment period when beneficiaries can enroll in or change coverage? But there are also certain conditions or qualifications that may allow you to qualify for a special enrollment period any time of the year. So call the number on your screen now for your free Medicare coverage checkup. This is a free service that you can call at absolutely no cost to you.
I'm on Medicare. I called to see if my income qualified for lower prescription medication costs. The friendly agent was very knowledgeable, and I found out I qualified for a special enrollment period, so I'm so glad I called.
We can look up your plan and see if you are missing out on a plan with extra benefits. We can also check to see if your income qualifies you to reduce the cost of your prescription medications. And we can even tell you if you qualify for a special enrollment period. It's your free Medicare coverage checkup at absolutely no cost to you. Just call 800-912-2786 and you can speak with a licensed agent who can check up on your plan and answer your questions. The Medicare Benefits and Questions line is open and anyone on or eligible for Medicare can call. The call and Medicare coverage checkup is free with no obligation. Call now. We love talking to people with Medicare, and the call is free. Just call 800-912-2786. 800-912-2786.
Wouldn't it be great if every meal was perfect? Not just big family cookouts or cozy dinners for two, but even those crazy busy everyday meals? With Omaha Steaks, you'll love every meal because we only deliver the best. The possibilities are endless, and perfection is always guaranteed. Visit omahasteaks.com/TV to order the perfect meal collection today for just $99.99 and get 8 burgers free.
Hey there, welcome back. Following in his parents' footsteps was a no-brainer for one Arizona State University student. Creating his own legacy took him far beyond his wildest dreams. Vetten Blandon from Scripps News Phoenix shows us his journey.
Before the pomp and circumstance can begin, students must put forth the effort.
I am so excited. I feel like everything is sort of led up to this in a lot of ways.
For Kyle Poland, his mom and dad graduated from Arizona State University with business degrees.
So I grew up with Sun Devils, everywhere when I was growing up and supporting the football team. And so standing here on the field now and graduating is kind of like a dream come true.
The younger Poland grew up in Scottsdale and graduated from Chaparral High. He didn't spend a lot of time around medicine, but did his fair share volunteering just about everywhere. One time, the 22-year-old says, was in a hospital.
I feel like it just clicked because for me, I always loved science, and I found a way to transmit that into, a people career. And I love talking to people. I'm a social person.
He says he applied to 37 medical schools and 13 accepted him.
I'm so grateful. I'm in such an honored position and fortunate. I think it's rare nowadays, and so I'm extremely grateful. At the end of the day, though, really all you need is one to become a doctor.
The one Poland chose is the Perelman School of Medicine at the University of Pennsylvania on a scholarship worth $300,000.
What struck me most was the people. The city has so much heart.
And speaking of people, Poland spotted his dad during our interview. Dave Poland says the day shows hard work pays off.
Sacrifices that he made, the compromises that he had to go through, and it's just a real happy day to see all this come together the way it has.
And a few minutes later, Mom got her hug.
Oh, it means the world to us. We're so proud of Kyle, and he worked hard for this, and it's nice that it's paid off.
This week, Poland becomes a Sun Devil with dual degrees from the School of Human Evolution and Social Change and the School of Molecular Sciences.
I think the word of the day is gratitude.
Our thanks there to Vetten Blandon reporting from Arizona. And don't forget, the news continues right here on Scripps News. Coming up, more on that breaking news out of New York. A verdict in E. Jean Carroll's case against former President Trump. I'm Veronica Cruz. Don't go too far because Del Walters is up next.